The St. Louis Cardinals make a trade with the Washington Nationals, but they didn't trade the pitcher that many thought were going to get moved. This is Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafron, a former national radio sports anchor, born and raised in St. Louis and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And welcome to another episode of Locked on Cardinals, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you to our everydayers for continuing to support us. Thank you for the new people who are here today. Welcome aboard. Hope you enjoy the content. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you the info about the birds on the bat. On today's episode, we're talking about the Hamate bone injury epidemic. It continues, this time to a star player who was set to play for Team USA in the WBC. Big loss here. Former Cardinal, another former Cardinal, is on the move yet again. We're going to talk pitchers and catchers who are set to report. But we start with yet another trade by Haim Bloom, who continues to wheel and deal. And the Cardinals this time got a deal done with the Washington Nationals. Now, many were expecting, or still are expecting, a deal involving JoJo Romero to take place, who is arguably their best relief pitcher and will become a free agent at the end of the season. Hence why it makes sense to move him if you're not going to re-sign him. But he is not the one who ended up getting traded. He is not on the move. Instead, it is 25-year-old right-handed reliever Andre Granillo, who has been dealt. In exchange for Granillo, the Cardinals are getting 26-year-old right-handed reliever George Soriano. Now, according to MLB.com, George Soriano is a name that you should be familiar with. He's been around for a couple of years now. Originally signed as an international free agent by the Marlins in 2015 out of the Dominican Republic, has appeared in 72 games over the past 3 seasons, making 1 start. He made 1 scoreless postseason appearance in the 2024 wildcard round against the Phillies. He was on the Marlins opening day roster each of the past 2 seasons. 3-1 record, 5.95 ERA, struck out 117 hitters over 118 innings pitched in his 3-year Major League career. He's converted 3 saves and has 2 holds. Inherited runners have been stranded at a 38.2% rate. 34 inherited runners, 13 of them have scored. More stats. Also held right-handed batters to a 229 batting average as opposed to lefties, who ended up hitting 294 against him. He's been doing a lot of roster traveling, if you will, within the last year. Not so much where he's actually had to pack his bags, but he's been moved on a few rosters recently. 4 different organizations since November. We're in February. So basically every month he moves on to a different roster. He was with the Marlins, then claimed 3 different times off waivers. Once by the Baltimore Orioles in November. Then the Atlanta Braves grabbed him in January. Most recently by the Nationals at the end of January on the 30th. And then the Nationals designated Soriano for assignment last week. Fun trivia question about him. The last name might stand out to you. George Soriano, yes, that he is related. First cousins with 7-time Major League All-Star Alfonso Soriano, if you remember, played for the Yankees, Rangers, Cubs, and Nationals, was a heck of a talent. According to Anthony Franco, he has a league average 22% strikeout rate against a moderately concerning 10.3% walk percentage. The biggest issue is that he has been very homer prone, surrendering 1.75 long balls per 9 innings. Great. Just what you want from a reliever, somebody who gives up the gopher ball more often than not. So that's not something you want to hear. Maybe you get him into Busch Stadium and things are different. Works with a 95, 96 mile an hour fastball range, or not fastball range, but just 95, 96 mile an hour range when it comes to the sinker and the 4-seam fastball, while using a slider and changeup fairly frequently. He's out of minor league options and either needs to break camp or be sent back into what is called DFA limbo. So he also says that it's a good sign for Soriano's chances of sticking on a roster that St. Louis decided to part with an MLB reliever to jump the waiver order. Meanwhile, our guy Granillo, if you've been an everydayer, I've talked about Granillo for a couple seasons now. Big slider guy. That's the go-to pitch for Granillo. We got to see him in 14 games with the Cardinals last year, 1-0, 4.71 ERA. Had very good numbers in the minor leagues. Year after year after year, it seemed like he continued to be productive in the minor leagues. Last year, 5-0, 1.29 ERA at Memphis in 29 games, 2024. 4-0 with a 1.47 ERA at Springfield in 14 games before going to Memphis, where he went 4-2 with a 4.82 ERA in 34 games. In 72 combined games at Memphis, he's got a record of 9-2 with a 3.53 ERA. Pretty good, which makes you wonder, why would you want to swap him out for a guy who has no options in Soriano and hasn't really found much success in the major leagues, but in 102 games at AAA was 9-8 with a 3.39 ERA. So Soriano, also a guy that has had success in the minors, hasn't translated to the major leagues all that much. All you can say is that I assume that they like something about Soriano that they didn't see in Granillo. There's something there. Perhaps they prefer the Soriano pitch mix compared to Granillo's. 2023, Soriano had an ERA plus of 124 at the major leagues, but it has taken a nosedive, a significant nosedive. The last 2 years dropping to 64, then 53. It's just a 40-man swap, so nothing has to change there. But Soriano will now be in Cardinals camp when pitchers and catchers report. If you look around and see other people talking about this trade, it's kind of odd just because of the dynamics where Soriano doesn't have options. Granillo had plenty of options. Like, you didn't need to get rid of him. I don't know. I really don't have a definitive answer as to why this felt like a move that the Cardinals and Haim Bloom had to make. But we know they don't just do things for no reason. And Haim's got a plan, and Haim we trust. We continue to say that. So hopefully there's something that George Soriano possesses that maybe he hasn't gotten out of when he was with the Marlins. Remember, he never pitched for these other teams. They were just on the roster. And when you see a guy that keeps getting grabbed off waivers, and there's something there that teams like. So Cardinals had a chance to grab him, decided to go for it, and now he's a member of your 40-man roster. So pitchers and catchers are set to report. Daniel Guerrero at FCLtoday.com broke down the non-roster invitees that will report on Thursday. We're going to discuss those guys. I want to bring up a few of them. I want to highlight a couple of the guys that are going to be in camp, talk about them a little bit. We'll get to that. And also, there was a prediction of what the opening day roster is supposed to look like for the Cardinals, and they went through the pitching staff, the rotation, the bullpen. Got a couple of head scratchers in there that I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. But we'll discuss all of it coming up next year on Locked On Cardinals. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax going to make it easier for you to just hand things off, hand it off, move on with your day. TurboTax full service. If you haven't tried this yet, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local tax expert, and they're going to take care of it start to finish without the stress or the guesswork, instead of you spending hours trying to figure out the different forms. What am I supposed to fill out? What am I not supposed to fill out? What boxes am I checking? All of that stuff can be a little bit stressful if you're not a professional tax person. And let's be honest, most of us are not. So instead, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They're going to handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every single deduction you deserve. You can upload your documents, and then you go about your day, do whatever you got to do. Go get a massage. Go do something else. And get updates right there in the TurboTax app. They're going to take care of it. Huge time saver, gives real peace of mind knowing that you got an expert on the job. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just make sure you file by February 28th, so the clock is ticking. Only a couple of weeks left for that. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Take it up a level. Go ad-free. Join our Everydayer Club, and you get no interruptions. You get members-only Discord access for all just $5 a month. All we're asking for. $5 a month, or you can go 50 a year. Stretch it out over the whole season. Go to LockedOnSTLCardinals.supercast.com, or you can check the link in our show notes to learn more. All right, pitchers and catchers are set to report And if you have ever followed spring training before in your life, you know that there are a lot of guys throwing baseballs at this time of year. They're all over the place. And the Cardinals have a slew of arms that are coming to camp to compete for spots on the team. You're going to see a lot of people that aren't set to be members of the team this year, obviously, as well. But a lot of names to go through that actually have a chance to crack the opening day lineup. Guys that you're probably going to see in 2026 at some point or another. There was an opening day roster prediction done by Mandy Randhawa at MLB.com. Or is it Randhawa? One of those two. I've never met the man, so I'm not exactly sure how he says his last name. But anyway, MLB.com, which we know let our guy John Denton go, which is a very, very big bummer. So there's going to be all kinds of different people chiming in and doing Cardinals coverage. How many of them know the Cardinals as well as John Denton? Probably not many, but that's what we're working with right now. So thanks a lot, MLB. Anyway, he had a prediction on the opening day roster, and we're going to talk about just the pitching side of that today. Listed for the rotation, free agent signing Dustin May, and then 4 guys who were already with the team last year. Matthew Liberatore, Michael McGreevy, former reliever Kyle Leahy, and do I have a drum roll noise? I might have one. Let me see here. I have drum roll bongos. Andre Pallante. Andre Pallante is who he's got there at the end. Now, the first 4 do not surprise me much. They really don't. That all makes sense. It's kind of what I expect. Pallante? Really? We're going to go back down that road again. When John Denton was on with me on Friday, we talked about this. He's like, I just don't. He says he doesn't see how Pallante is going to win that job. I'd be shocked because there are other hens. What is it? What's the other roosters in the hen house? We've got more. We've got other guys now. They're not going to pick either of the new dudes they got from the Boston Red Sox that they made trades for. Richard Fitz, Hunter Dobbins. Nope. Andre Pallante? Now, Dobbins, we know, is recovering from the knee injury last year. May not be ready for opening day. We're not totally sure. We'll see how he progresses in camp. If he is healthy, I want to see Hunter Dobbins. I do. I kind of like what he's got to offer. But wouldn't we rather see Richard Fitz instead of Andre Pallante again? Not saying that Pallante won't be on the team. Maybe he gets a reliever role, but I don't know if they go down that road again. I mean, ugh. So that one caught me off guard a little bit. I'm not agreeing with the Pallante part. As far as the bullpen goes from the left side, he's got JoJo Romero, who many think are going to get traded before opening day. We'll see. We've also got new acquisition, Justin Brule, whom they got from Cleveland. Both make sense. No big surprises there whatsoever. But from the right side, you've got familiar names, and then you've got a couple other names where you're just like, what? We're going to do that again? We start with the good ones. Matt Swanson, Riley O'Brien, free agent signing Ryan Stanek, Gordon Graceffo. Those are the ones he brings up from the right side that I agree with. I feel like you can probably pencil all those dudes in, no problem. Maybe Gordon Graceffo is somebody that may or may not be there, but I have no issue. It's time to see what he can do at the major league level, so why not? But the last 2 spots he's got going to Ryan Fernandez and Chris Roycroft. Those last 2 spots there, I certainly think they're up for grabs. Just because they've been on the roster before does not necessarily mean they are going to be there or need to be there this year. Of course, you got to consider that maybe there are going to be some injuries that are going to take place. So maybe they join because of that. Pitchers deal with a lot of crap, sore shoulders, stiffness just in the body in general, back injuries, leg injuries. You hear about it all the time. Normally, something happens to this main group of guys. And that's where some of your non-roster invitees will come into play. So I think there are some options here that could give Pallante, Fernandez, and Roycroft some competition. Not saying that they won't win those spots, but there are other guys that I'm kind of interested in. I've been down the road with those 3 dudes before. I've seen what they have to offer. I haven't liked everything they've had to offer. So here's what we got. All right. So friend of the show, Daniel Guerrero, from SELtoday.com put together a list of the NRIs, the non-roster invitees. And I thought we should go over a couple of those. We're just going to focus on the pitching side here, just to kind of refresh your mind before pitchers and catchers report on Thursday. The first name I want to bring up is Packy Naughton. Now, that is a name that should sound familiar to you as a Cardinal fan. From the left side, you got JoJo, you got Brule, who we mentioned, Nick Roquette still there on the 40-man roster, along with Cooper Jerpy, Bryson Motts, and Libby. Matthew Liberatore, in case you're wondering. Jerpy coming back from injury. He's going to the minors. Motts and Libby are starters, so having some depth certainly is a good thing. And Naughton has been in the big leagues before. We've seen him have success with the Cardinals. 37 appearances, 4.98 ERA. Nothing spectacular, but he wasn't, hot garbage or anything like that. Has been injured the last 2 years, which is why you probably haven't thought about him all that much. Now 29 years old. He's dealt with flexor tendon surgery, which he had in 23. Retore the flexor tendon and the UCL in his left elbow while rehabbing that injury, which led to elbow reconstruction surgery midway through 2024. Are you banking on Packy Naughton? Of course not. Of course not. How can you trust that? But someone to keep an eye on. That's what this whole spring training thing is about. Hey, let's bring these guys in, let them compete. Hey, what if he shows up and he's awesome? Odds are not good that that's going to happen, but you never know. Similar names, similar issues. Former first-round pick Zack Thompson, another guy who's been injured, shoulder injury last year, had him on the shelf. We've also seen him have success at the big league level as well. Another name you should be familiar with, but again, not a guy that you're banking on coming to camp and just blowing you away and making you think, oh my gosh, we got a stud. But it is nice to hear that both he and Packy Naughton are at least healthy and ready for camp at this point. So why not give him a shot? You've got former minor league pitcher of the year, Quinn Matthews, who had an injury-filled 2025, is hoping to get his career back on track the way it was in 2024 when he was the minor league pitcher of the year. Fell out of MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospect list going into this season. We know he's got the talent. Last year was a rough year after how good he was the previous year and how he just skyrocketed through the organization. And last year he hit some speed bumps and it wasn't pretty at times. So hopefully he gets back on track, is able to throw more strikes because he's got the goods. We know he does. You've seen him do it. So hopefully he gets back to where we need him to be. You've got another lefty, and Eshawn Henderson, extremely impressive at Double-A Springfield last year. Won Texas League Pitcher of the Year honors. He was so good. 9-7, 2.59 ERA. I'm not expecting him to be up with the club right away, but another guy that, hey, if all is going well at Memphis and he needs to be up, then it's somebody that you can bring up. Veteran left-hander Jared Schuster's from the left side, former first-round pick by Atlanta. Still 27 years old, has really struggled the last couple of years. You've got veteran left-hander Bruce Zimmerman, previously with Baltimore, was with the Brewers organization last year. The only other lefty that will be a non-roster invitee is Pete Hansen, former third-round pick in 2022. He was a guy we talked a little bit about this offseason because there was a chance that he was someone that might get grabbed in the Rule 5 draft. Instead, they lost Kate Winquist, which hurt. It hurt. But Pete Hansen's another guy that, that clearly there's some talent there, so we'll see what he has to offer. From the right side, you've got former Cardinals minor league pitcher of the year, Max Ratchick, who won that award in 2023, made it to AAA last year, although he didn't have a ton of success. But, it's a guy that, hey, we've seen him do really good things before. Maybe it was one bad year. We'll see. Skylar Hales, whom they got in that Phil Maton deal last year, had a 5.40 ERA in 20 innings from Memphis after the trade. But Daniel points out in his article that he's got some heat on the fastball, was hitting 98.3 at one point, 50% whiff rate on his curveball. Okay, well, we'll take that. So we'll keep an eye on the name Skylar Hales, which is a great name, by the way. Sounds like a movie star, Skylar Hales, starring Skylar Hales. We've brought up Luis Gastelum before. This is the kid that's got that wicked changeup. Daniel says he struck out 32.2% of the hitters he faced since 2023. He's going to be playing for Team Mexico in the WBC. I'm very intrigued by him. Thomas Govain and I have talked about him on the podcast before, and I can't wait to watch him again this spring. Last spring, he kind of stood out. You're like, whoa, who is this kid? And then he goes off and has this fantastic year at Springfield. And he's a dude that, how many guys have incredible changeups? Like it's a pitch that not a lot of people are throwing these days, as far as like making that your main out pitch. Doesn't happen a whole lot. So certainly a guy I want to keep an eye on. Maybe he becomes somebody who can take over one of those spots. Veteran-wise, you've got 29-year-old right-hander Scott Blewett, spent time with the Twins, Braves, and Orioles last season. So there's something there that people like. They keep grabbing him. So Scott Blewett will be there. Gerson Moreno, 30 years old. I know you're like, whoa, what? 30 years old. But that's not the number that intrigues me. It's the 1.23 ERA that he had last year with Memphis, and also the fact that he hits triple digits with the fastball. Was once a top 20 prospect in the Detroit Tigers organization. So another guy just to keep an eye on. Sim Robertson, remember him coming back from injury. Austin Love, who's a 27-year-old who had a really good year with Springfield. Another guy that, hey, maybe there's something there that they can use. Hansel Rincon, just 23 years old. Daniel Guerrero said he bounced between Class High A and Double A last year, making starts across both levels, struck out 26.8% of the batters that he faced while working primarily as a starter after striking out 18.8 of hitters faced in 2024. But I saw a little thing on X from Baseball America who mentioned Rincon and about keep an eye on him, that he's got the kick changeup that he's using this year, has added some velo. So he's somebody like, hey, could sneak into the top 30 prospect list for the Cardinals in 2026. Some other things that we saw yesterday, footage of Jurangelo St. doing a bullpen on Tuesday, throwing from both sides, both the right and the left. We know that, the Mariners were set to have him focus on the right side. Haim Bloom kind of reiterated that, hey, it seemed like a good path. We don't know if that's exactly what's going to happen, but he was throwing from both sides at camp. There was a picture of Matthew Liberatore, and it appeared that he was using a split finger fastball grip on the ball, which would be a new pitch for him in 2026. We've heard from him that he's been working on a new one, so maybe that's what is coming down with Matthew Liberatore. So hopefully that works out. There's also going to be some kind of like video thing that the Cardinals are doing with Libby. So we'll get you some info on that. They released something this morning about it. We had footage of Victor Scott II doing one-handed bunts. I would love to see him be able to bunt more, get on base more. Obviously, that's a huge thing for him. But I encourage you guys to follow all the beat writers who are down there in Jupiter, Jeff Jones, Derek Gould, all these guys, the guys that are remaining. Make sure you give them a follow and check them out so that you're up to date on everything that's going on at camp. Obviously, we're all over it too. We've got your info, so I'll be scouring and passing it along to you as best I can. But do you guys like these opening day predictions for the starting rotation for the bullpen? Or are you with me and have a tough time accepting the names of Pallante, Fernandez, and Roy Croft? Hey, if they win the jobs and they come out and do what they need to do to take those spots, more power to them. I want to see people who can succeed. But these are three guys that I've seen quite a bit of, and I'm not all that impressed with anymore. Do they really need to be members of this team when they face the Rays on March 26th? I would like to turn the page and move on to some other people, but hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments section what you think. Up next, we've got MLB news and notes. Future Hall of Famer returns to where it all started. Another former Cardinal finds a new home, and yet another hamate bone injury. What the hell is going on? And this one's going to cost Team USA a key member for the World Baseball Classic. We'll talk about it next, coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Justin Verlander, no doubt Hall of Famer, has had a tremendous career that started with the Tigers when he was drafted #2 overall out of Old Dominion in 2004. Now, do you guys remember who went #1 in that draft? Anybody? Padres took shortstop Matt Bush. Matt Bush went #1 overall, never made it to the pros as an infielder, ended up having some legal issues, goes to jail for a little while, eventually comes back and transcends into a pitcher. And that's how he got to the major leagues. Had some serious heat there, but Obviously, if you had to go back and redo it, Verlander would go number 1. Tigers get him. He lands in their lap at number 2, and they couldn't be happier. The Cardinals, if you're wondering, took right-handed pitcher Chris Lambert out of Boston College at number 19, eventually traded him to the Tigers for Mike Maroth. You remember that guy in 2007. The Mike Maroth era did not go well for the Cardinals. I remember he sucked. I remember it being bad, and went back and looked at the stats, and I was right. It was bad. 14 games with the Cardinals, 7 starts, 0-5, 10.66 ERA. Ugh. Disgusting, right? Anyways, Verlander is going back to the Tigers. Found out that Reese Olson, another pitcher for them, is going to be out for the year. So why not go get a future Hall of Famer that loves pitching in Detroit? So now they got Skubal, Framber Valdez, who they signed, former number 1 overall pick Casey Mize is there. Former Cardinal Jack Flaherty is with them still. And then future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander going to round out their rotation heading into the season. 1 year, $13 million deal for the soon-to-be 43-year-old. Was 4-11, but had a 3.85 ERA with the Giants last season. 3 years removed from his 3rd Cy Young Award-winning year when he was with Houston. Makes sense for him, makes sense for the team. I like the move. The next move, a little bit of a head scratcher. Former Cardinal José Quintana has found a new home and has decided that, you know what, at my age, which is 37, let's see if I can pitch in Colorado. What? He's going to play for the Rockies. 1 year deal, $6 million. Last year with the Brewers had a 3.96 ERA, 1.29 whip across 131 and 2/3 innings. And in 3 of the last 4 seasons, his ERA has been below 4 in 130 plus innings. The other season being 75 and 2/3 innings, 3.57 ERA in 2023. I've been a big fan of José Quintana, like when the Cardinals got him in 2022. He was so good when he came over. Remember, it was him and Chris Stratton. Damn glad to meet you. In exchange for Johan Oviedo, who is now in Boston and is supposed to be a big piece of their rotation. And Malcolm Nunez was the other name involved in that particular deal. 3-2 in 12 starts with the Cardinals that year. Had a 2.01 ERA. Ended up starting game 1. That's how good he was. He ends up starting game 1 against the Phillies in the playoffs and goes 5 1/3 innings, shutout. Didn't give up a run, only gave up 2 hits. Painfully, the Cardinals, if you remember, would lead that game 2-0, headed into the 9th inning before the Phillies got 6 runs. Just imploded with Ryan Helsley and guess who? Andre Pallante. And they would lose 6-3, and that would be the last game Quintana pitched for the Cardinals. He moves on to the Mets the next season. He was a guy I was hoping they would bring back. Instead, they didn't. They let him go to the Mets, and I know he had some injury issues, but still pretty good the last few years after St. Louis. I was hopeful that the Cardinals might take a look at him this year just because, Libby was the only left-hander in the starting rotation that they had at the time. But obviously after making the different trades and deals that they've done, that really didn't make any sense in doing that. There's plenty of options to go around. Strange to see him to go to Colorado out of all places. Not exactly a hot spot for pitchers, but hey, they gave him $6 million. So probably the best deal he was offered. So he took it. Also, some unfortunate news this morning. Corbin Carroll, one of my favorite players in baseball, broken hamate bone and is going to miss the WBC and likely out for the opening day for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that is now 3 hamate bone injuries that we've been told about here in the last week between Jackson Holliday, son of Cardinals Hall of Famer Matt Holliday, Francisco Lindor with the Mets, and now it's Carroll. The hell is going on with the hamate bones? Like Cardinals, be careful. Be careful. We don't need injuries to make things any worse for what 2026 is going to be. All right. Thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals, and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. We're going to have Blake Aida coming on to the show next episode, doing an interview with him. He was part of the trade for Wilson Contreras from the Boston Red Sox. So we'll get some background on him, get his thoughts on what it's like to be traded for like a big name like Wilson Contreras and his thoughts coming into the season. So make sure you tune in for that. If you never miss an episode, a reminder that Everyday Air Club is built for you. Head to LockedOnSTLCardinals.supercast.com to join the club. Go ad-free, members-only Discord. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On the audio, make sure you guys are going to Locked On MLB with our guy Sully. You're the best fans of baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.